Welcome back to the Wandering Star Farmhouse. My name is Jeanette, and look at the two lucky birds that squeaked their way through the holiday season, and they're still around. Yep, we decided to hold on to these two, and maybe we'll get some turkey chicks this spring. But inside the farmhouse, we are starting the Three Rivers Challenge, our 2-month pantry challenge of eating up stores from our pantries for the first 2 months of the year. And that is what this video is going to be mostly about today, is what have we been eating from the pantry this week. Obviously, the first couple weeks of January are quite a bit different because we keep a pretty robust amount of food in the refrigerator, and so we're not quite as limited as we might be later in the season. But this is January 1st, and I am making our traditional January 1st Abelskivers for our breakfast brunch. And I have a video with the recipe for these Danish Abelskivers and the methodology for how you make them into these fluffy round pancakes and even put fillings in them. The ingredients are pretty similar to buttermilk pancakes, and so the flavor is a very familiar one, but the size and shape are what's novel about it. But this is our traditional New Year's Day breakfast that I make every January 1st using my grandmother's cast iron Abelskiver pan, and it's a lot of fun. The kids love it and look forward to it. I melted my butter on top of my new wood-burning cook stove, and I will talk a little bit more about that later.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, you can stir.
I love participating in the pantry challenge. I can't remember if this is my third or this is at least my 4th year participating in the pantry challenge, but it's just a really great thing this time of year. I really like the focus on rotating through things that are in my pantry, especially my canning pantry and my freezers. And really, with us being on the homestead where we like to produce a lot of things for ourselves, this is just a good opportunity to rotate through things, make space for the next year's crops, make space for the next year's projects and animals, and just make sure that everything in our pantry is always staying fresh because we are rotating through it. Now, the host, Jessica, encourages people to just set their own rules for the challenge and do whatever you want with it. And that is my main goal, is to just really use and rotate through some of those home canned and home frozen commodities that are in our storage and in our freezer. So I don't do zero grocery shopping. I have a small list of exceptions for the things that I do continue to buy regularly from the grocery store. The first thing on that list is dairy products, because we don't currently have a dairy animal. A couple years ago, I had my cow through the pantry challenge, and so we had plenty of milk and cheese that year, but this year we don't have a dairy animal, so we will continue to buy dairy. And I am a born and raised Arizona girl, and so in the winter time, the fruits of the season are citrus fruits, and so we do continue to purchase plenty of delicious and healthful immune-supporting citrus this time of year for our family and for the health of our family. Jeremy is cooking dinner for us tonight, and he is making goat tacos. We have a decent amount of goat meat in our freezer. That's one of the stores that we are going to be working our way through during this pantry challenge, is using up these different cuts of goat meat. This is our first time harvesting goat meat on our homestead, and so far we have really been enjoying the fruits of that labor. But speaking of fruit, we have some pomegranates left over from the Christmas season. I really went a little bit crazy this Christmas. We had my mom and my oldest son coming in from out of town, and I wasn't super good about planning, and so I just bought a lot of food to make sure that we would have enough food to do all the different kinds of holiday cooking and eating that we wanted to do. So now we'll be enjoying some of those leftovers. Today is January 2nd, and I am putting together a batch of banana muffins using some stored frozen bananas. Anytime I have bananas that are starting to go a little bit brown on the counter, that it looks like nobody's going to want to eat them at that point, I just throw them into freezer bags, and those are perfect for pulling out to make banana bread, banana muffins, or whatever. Now, Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead, who hosts this pantry challenge, she is the one who gave me the idea of making one giant muffin instead of a batch of muffins. And it really is kind of a convenient thing for large families or when you're making muffins regularly and you don't want to waste money on buying the paper muffin cups. You can see the temperature on my wood cook stove is currently at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I had intended to make a video all about my new wood stove, so I'm gonna have to get that out to you sometime soon and tell you all about this exciting new member of our homestead. Last year, I worked particularly hard on providing all of the bread and bread products because the previous year I had ended up purchasing bread quite a few times, and I did a great job last year. So this year I plan on doing that again, continuing. We do a lot of sourdough, if only because when you start cooking this often from scratch, you realize how quickly you go through those commodities such as instant yeast. However, the sourdough, as I've gained more experience with it over the years, figured out how to use it better to make almost all the same things that I would normally make and not have to be using any commercial yeast for that. So that will be another one of my major goals this year, is continuing to bake all of the breads, cookies, muffins, crackers, all of those things from scratch during this pantry challenge. Tonight for dinner, I'm going to be using a jar of turkey soup base, and I'm going to be turning that into a turkey pot pie. What I want to do is I want to thicken up this broth that is in the jar of turkey soup base so that it is thick enough to be a pot pie. So I'm going to make a roux, get a little bit of fat, and I am using, this is actually rendered fat from our Thanksgiving turkey, and flour, and cook that up, and then I'll strain the broth into it so it can thicken up that broth. I want to add some more vegetables to bulk this up as well, so I grabbed a jar of home canned green beans, and I also have some frozen corn in the freezer. This is a nice gravy when you can make a line down the middle of it and that stays separated. So that's what we're going to go with. You can make it a little thicker if you want to, but I like it to be plenty saucy when we are going to be having the breading on top. So now that the gravy's ready, I am adding in all the vegetables and the turkey from that jar of soup base, green beans from my garden, and then some of that frozen corn too. And that should be a good amount of vegetables for this pie. Now you can make whatever kind of pot pie topping that you prefer. You can make a pie crust and roll it out and cover the top of this and then put it in the oven to bake. A lot of times I like to do a biscuit topping. So that's what I'm going to do today, is a biscuit topping. I'm using part home ground whole wheat flour to have extra fiber and nutrition. And even with the biscuits, you can do more of like a thin topping that you pour on and that covers the whole thing, or you can do a drop biscuit topping, and that's what I'm doing today, is the drop biscuit topping. And once I have that all mixed up, then I drop it by spoonfuls onto the pot pie and then just cook it until that biscuit topping is cooked all the way through. One of the things that I have to work extra hard to keep up on during the pantry challenge is snack food. At some point in the day, my kids are going to be looking for snacks. They just want a little something tasty to hold them over until dinner time. And so it's almost a daily thing where I have to be thinking of, okay, what's today's snack? What's today's snack? Because during the pantry challenge, I'm not buying other things I might normally buy, such as crackers or granola bars, muffins, and definitely cookies. We don't usually buy many store-bought cookies at all. So we'll get half of these tucked away in the cookie jar for tomorrow, so that hopefully these will last 2 days instead of just 1 day. Today is Saturday, and so my husband and son went to go volunteer at the local food bank with their food distribution this morning. And whenever they go and volunteer like that, then they always send them home with an order of food for the day of whatever it was that they were passing out. So these are the things that they brought home today. Some salads, a little bit of refrigerated soup, raisins that are great for storage, and also great because we are going to be eating a lot of oatmeal for breakfast during this pantry challenge. And we love having the raisins with that oatmeal, some little snack bars. And then one great thing was a whole bunch of strawberries. So I am going to take a good amount of these strawberries and make some jam to make sure that we have enough jam to get us through this pantry challenge. I do have quite a bit of jam. That is something that I have been able to keep a year's supply of. the last couple of years. But I definitely noticed during the pantry challenge, one of the other things my kids will eat just as snack is just homemade bread. And so we go through a lot more, whenever I'm making a lot of homemade bread, we go through a lot more of the jam as well. But this was great because another one of my goals is actually to participate this January in the Canuary challenge as well. And so I really am going to be intentionally canning some things this January, even as I am using up other things from my pantry. One reason why is because we are actually expecting a baby in April, the very beginning of April, into March. And so I don't want to completely drain my pantry stores because I'm going to need some things available for after the baby comes. So as we go through the freezer and as I make meals for the pantry challenge, I want to actually also be canning some things up, maybe freezing some leftovers so that I'm not actually depleting my whole pantry. So tonight for dinner, my husband actually made crepes, and this is something that he'll make for the family. They had, I guess, ham and egg and cheese crepes for the main part of their dinner, but they saved me a dessert crepe and used some of our delicious homemade jam that we just made this morning. But I was out of the house this evening going to a favorite things party with some friends of mine. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be continuing this pantry challenge and getting more and more creative with the things that we're cooking over the next couple months. And I hope you will please hit the subscribe button and follow along. Here's what I took to the favorite things party. Wonderfully squishy, warm house socks and a pack of Swedish dishcloths, or the reusable paper towels. Two of my favorite things that I took to share with a couple of friends. And here was my plate of what we were enjoying of the party that night.